position if he is in the attacking half of the field and nearer to his opponent's goal than both the ball and second to last opponent. And a player in offside position is only penalized if, at the moment the ball touches or is played by one of his team, he is, in the opinion of the referee, involved in active play by interfering with play, interfering with an opponent, or gaining an advantage by being in that position. Well, that's pretty straightforward. As you can see, for somebody new to soccer, this can be an intimidating rule, and it will occasionally stop people from volunteering to referee. This shouldn't be the case. Granted, if you don't know much about the game and all you do is read the words in Law 11, it will probably not make too much sense. However, in this presentation, you will be introduced to the concept of offside through numerous visual examples designed to help you easily recognize this infraction in different situations. With visual aids, understanding the basic principles of offside is simpler than you might think. And, once you have the basics down, experience is the best teacher. The more you referee, the more situations you will see, and the more confident you'll become in calling this infraction. At first glance, an inexperienced observer might question the logic of the offside rule. So, for people new to soccer, it might help to understand the history behind it. In soccer's earliest days, some players tended to be lazy. Instead of staying with the action, they would hang around the opponent's goal waiting for a teammate to send the ball to them, hoping they would end up with a quick one-on-one situation with the goalkeeper. A player who did this was said to be off his side, because the word side is the British term for the word team. This was not considered proper sporting behavior, and so a rule was instituted requiring attackers who did not possess the ball to have a minimum number of defenders between them and the goal. The actual number of required players has varied over the past 100 years, but it currently stands at 2. The infraction is called offside, since it is derived from the term of being off one side. It is not called offsides. That is a penalty only in American football. Let's begin by examining the fundamentals of the infraction. Whatever you do, do not panic if it does not sink in after reviewing these points. To really understand offside, you must see it, and you will see plenty of visual examples in this presentation. Let's start with a very simple global definition. To commit an offside infraction, the player must do two things. First, he must be in offside position at the moment the ball is played to him by his teammate. Second, he must then become involved in active play. Both qualifications must be fulfilled for an infraction to occur. As you will eventually learn, a player can be in offside position without committing an offside infraction. To be in an offside position, the player has to fulfill 3 requirements. First, he has to be in his attacking half of the field. In other words, over the halfway line. Second, he has to be ahead of the second to last defender. Third, the player must be ahead of the ball. All 3 requirements must be met for a player to be in offside position. If one is not met, offside position does not exist. Once there is a player in offside position, the infraction occurs when, at the exact moment the ball touches or is played by one of his teammates, that player is judged by the referee to be involved in active play. As we will eventually see, there are several ways to become involved in active play. However, most of the time, this occurs when the ball is kicked by a teammate directly to the player in offside position. Okay, looking at these words and hearing these explanations may not make this extremely clear. Remember, we warned you that this might happen. Just try to keep these points in mind as we look at some field situations which will help clarify this rule. Let's first look at a simple situation. Here we have 2 defenders and an attacking forward in offside position. The forward's teammate brings the ball upfield and makes the pass. As soon as the attacking forward receives the ball, the referee signals the offside infraction. Now let's re-examine this play in slow motion. Again, we start with 2 defenders and an attacking forward in offside position. The first attacking player brings the ball upfield, and we will stop the action when the ball is just about to be kicked to her teammate. Now comes the key decision. At the moment the ball is kicked, the assistant referee has to judge whether there is a player in offside position. In this case, we see that the lead attacking forward has fulfilled all three requirements. She is ahead of the ball, in the attacking half of the field, and finally, ahead of the second-to-last defender. In other words, there is only one defender between her and the goal. The assistant referee is lined up even with the second-to-last defender to make it easier to see if any attacking player is in offside position. This player is in offside position, but until she gets the ball or becomes involved in the play, she is not technically offside. Assistant referees do not signal offside position, they only signal the offside infraction. Now the pass is made. The player who was in offside position at the moment the ball was kicked has now received the ball. An offside infraction has occurred. The assistant referee raises the flag, and the center referee should award an indirect free kick to the opposing team at the point at which the infraction occurred. In this case, at the point where the lead attacker received the pass. That situation was relatively straightforward. Now, let's vary the same scenario and see if the offside penalty applies. Closest to the goal, we have one attacker and one defender, both standing very close together. The attacking forward is furthest from the camera. The ball is brought upfield and passed to the lead attacker, who drives towards the goal. Now, here is the same play in slow motion. Again, we have the attacking forward even with the second-to-last defender. While the ball is being brought upfield, the attacking forward continues to stay even with the second-to-last defender. And she is still even here at the moment the ball is kicked. Since the assistant referee is in line with the second-to-last defender, he can see that the defender and the attacking forward are dead even with each other. Once the ball is kicked, the attacking forward moves ahead to receive the pass. At the point she receives the pass, it may look as if an offside infraction has occurred, but it has not, because the offside infraction is judged at the moment the ball is kicked, not the moment the ball is received. At the moment the ball was kicked, the attacking forward had fulfilled only two of the conditions of being in offside position. She was ahead of the ball and in the attacking half of the field, but she was not ahead of the second-to-last defender. Rather, she was even with that defender. Since she was not in offside position when the ball was kicked by her teammate, there was no offside infraction when she received the ball. Try to think of it this way. Offside was meant to penalize the lazy player, not the fast player. If, at the instant the ball is kicked by her teammate, the attacker is either behind or even with the defender, and the attacker gets to it first by virtue of outrunning or outmaneuvering the defender, the attacker deserves the ball. Speed cannot be penalized. We have seen two very similar situations, one which resulted in an infraction and one which did not. The only difference was the position of the lead attacker at the moment the ball was kicked. This brings us to the most important issue in judging offside, namely where you position yourself on the touchline. In both scenarios, two of the three requirements for offside position were fulfilled, being in the attacking half of the field and being ahead of the ball. It was the third which decided whether there would be an infraction. So, determining whether the attacker is ahead of the second-to-last defender is critical. To do this, assistant referees tend to stay even with the second-to-last defender. Since the goalkeeper will, in most cases, be close to the goal area, this means that you would line yourself up with the last fullback. We started by covering the two requirements necessary to being called offside. First, being in offside position, and second, being, in the opinion of the referee, involved in active play. Now let's take a closer look at the concept of being involved in active play. According to FIFA rules, there are three ways to be involved in active play. First, by interfering with play. Second, by interfering with an opponent. And third, by gaining an advantage by being in offside position. We will use these terms as we examine further examples. Let's look at another situation where the lead attacker is in offside position. Here, the attacker brings the ball upfield and passes the defender. The goalkeeper comes out to challenge, and the attacker passes the ball to a teammate in offside position. The assistant referee signals an offside infraction. Let's quickly review this situation again. Here, the attacker brings the ball upfield and passes the defender. At the moment the ball is kicked, the attacker is ahead of the last two fullbacks. The goalkeeper has left the net to challenge for the ball, and the attacker's teammate is in offside position, in this case ahead of the ball and all the defenders. The assistant referee is moving to stay even with the ball since it has passed the second to last defender. Note that even though the attacker with the ball is ahead of the second to last defender, she is not offside. A player legally in possession of the ball cannot, by definition, be offside. But when she plays it to her teammate who is in offside position, an offside infraction occurs. In this case, the player in offside position became involved in the play by receiving the pass directly from her teammate. In other words, gaining an advantage by being in offside position. Now, let's look at a very similar play but with a different outcome. We have an attacking forward with the ball, two of her teammates, and three defenders. The attacking forward brings the ball downfield past the last fullback, and then takes a shot on goal. Looking at the same play again, we can see that at the moment the ball is kicked, there is a player in offside position. But there is no offside infraction because this player never becomes involved in the play. The ball is kicked directly to and fielded by the goalkeeper, at which point the player in offside position is still some distance away from the play. This illustrates an important concept. It is possible for a player to be in offside position and never commit an offside infraction, as long as that player does not become involved in active play. In this case, the player in offside position neither received a pass nor came close enough to the ball to interfere with play. So, how does a player interfere with play without touching the ball? Let's look at a rather extreme example to illustrate how this can occur. Here we start off again with the attacking forward bringing the ball upfield, her two teammates, and three defenders. Note that at the start of this play, one offensive player is already in offside position, ahead of the second to last defender. The assistant referee is positioned correctly, in line with the second to last defender. As the ball is brought upfield, the attacking forward chooses to make a direct shot on goal, and her teammate, although never touching the ball, comes in between the ball and the goalkeeper. Let's view this situation again. At the moment the ball is kicked towards the goal, the attacker's teammate is in offside position. Although the ball has not been deliberately kicked towards this teammate, she runs into the goal area and blocks the goalkeeper from reaching for the ball. This is an offside infraction because the player who was in offside position at the moment the ball was kicked interfered with play and thus became involved in active play, even though she never touched the ball. Granted, this is a very obvious call, but we are deliberately using an extreme situation to show that an offside infraction can occur without the player in offside position ever touching the ball, as long as that player becomes involved in active play, in this case, by interfering with play. Here, the player was close enough to physically block the goalkeeper, but it does not have to be this extreme. If this player had not gotten as close, but had, for example, block the goalkeeper's view of the ball, it would still be considered interfering with play or interfering with an opponent, and would be an offside infraction. Now let's review the same play, but focus on the positioning of the assistant referee. At the start of the play, we can see that he is even with the second-to-last defender. This allows him to see that the lead attacker is in offside position, in the attacking half of the field, ahead of the second-to-last defender, and ahead of the ball. Only because he is positioned properly can he see that the attacker is just slightly ahead of the second-to-last defender. As this play develops, the referee moves to the left to stay even with the second-to-last defender. Note that the second-to-last defender is no longer this player, but is now this player, and the referee has adjusted his position accordingly. However, once the ball passes that defender, he again adjusts his positioning, moving to the right to stay even with the ball. By staying even with the ball, he is able to judge, at the moment it is kicked, whether the lead attacker is still in offside position, in other words, still ahead of the ball. So, the general rule on positioning is to stay even with the second-to-last defender or the ball, whichever is further ahead. We have reviewed two situations where the player in offside position never touched the ball. One which resulted in an offside infraction, and one which did not. The only difference being that, in one case, the player did not become involved in active play. But these are two fairly extreme examples. So, you might ask yourself, what about everything in between? Well, that's your job, to judge, based on the circumstances of each play, whether the player in offside position interfered with play or gained an advantage by being in that position. Law 11 gives you the best guidance. It says that a player in an offside position is only penalized if, at the moment the ball touches or is played by one of his team, he is, in the opinion of the referee, involved in active play. That's the key phrase, in the opinion of the referee. It's your call, and as you gain experience, you will find that, more often than not, it is not that difficult to make this judgment. Now let's look at a few unusual situations to fine-tune our understanding of the offside infraction. Here we have an attacking forward with the ball, one defender, and another defender standing very close to the lead attacking forward. When the attacking forward passes the ball to her teammate, we can see that, when she receives the ball, she is not ahead of the second-to-last defender, and therefore not in offside position. Yet the assistant referee signals an offside infraction. Let's look at this play again to understand why the infraction occurred. As it develops, the attacking forward's teammate moves forward into an offside position, ahead of the second-to-last defender. Note that she is still in offside position at the moment the ball is kicked to her by her teammate. However, the kick is not that strong, so she runs back to receive the ball, and in doing so, places herself in an onside position when she receives that ball. However, the point at which you must judge offside position is the moment the ball is kicked by the teammate, not the point at which it is received. If the player is in offside position at the moment the ball is played to her, it does not matter that she is onside when receiving it. So, even though it looks as if the player was onside, the referee was correct in signaling the offside infraction. Earlier, we learned that a player in offside position must become involved in active play to commit an offside infraction. So, assistant referees must be careful to wait for that involvement to occur before raising the flag, as illustrated by this example. Here we have an attacking forward with the ball and a teammate in offside position. In between are two defenders. At the moment the ball is kicked, the attacker's teammate is still in offside position. it looks as if there will be an offside infraction. However, one of the defenders intercepts the ball, takes control, and moves in the opposite direction. Since the teammate never received the ball, there was no offside infraction. An inexperienced referee might have been tempted to raise the flag here, in anticipation of the infraction, but that would be an incorrect call. Be careful not to make this mistake. Make sure the player in offside position has become involved in active play before signaling the infraction. In the previous example, the defender intercepted and took control of the ball, and this stopped the offside infraction from occurring. However, a defender merely deflecting the ball does not negate the offside call, as seen in this example. Here we have the attacking forward with the ball, two defenders, and another attacker in offside position, ahead of the second to last defender. One of the defenders challenges the attacking forward, who then passes the ball to her teammate. As it travels towards that teammate, the second defender slightly deflects the ball, but the ball continues on to the teammate in offside position. The referee correctly signals the offside infraction. In this situation, then, the defender merely deflected the ball and, unlike the previous example, did not gain control of the ball. The forward receiving the pass still gained an advantage by being in offside position and was therefore offside when she received the ball. Now let's look at 4 separate 2-on-1 fast break situations which will reinforce the concepts we have previously covered. In the first, 2 attackers pass the second to last defender and move towards the goal. Even though they are both past the second to last defender, it is important to note that, since neither is ahead of the ball, neither player is in offside position. No matter how one-sided this situation may look, the player without the ball has not fulfilled all 3 conditions necessary to be considered in offside position. The lead attacker now takes a shot on goal. At the moment the ball is kicked, the other attacker is still behind the ball, so she never puts herself into an offside position, and therefore there is no offside infraction. In the second 2-on-1 situation, there are again 2 attackers facing only the goalkeeper. However, the attacker without the ball moves into an offside position, ahead of the ball, and is still in offside position when the ball is kicked towards the goal. As the play continues, we can see that the attacker in offside position never becomes involved in the play, so there is no offside infraction. The third situation is slightly different. It starts out the same, with the second attacker moving into an offside position ahead of the ball. However, when challenged, the attacker with the ball passes to the teammate in offside position. So there is clearly an offside infraction. In the fourth situation, we again see 2 attackers facing only the goalkeeper, one with the ball and one in offside position. The attacking forward takes a shot on goal, and the ball rebounds off the goalkeeper's hands. The attacker who was in offside position when the ball was kicked runs up and attempts to kick the deflected ball. However, like the earlier example where the ball deflected off a defender's leg, this also results in an offside infraction. The goalkeeper merely deflected the ball. She never had control. So the attacking forward is deemed to have gained an advantage by having been in offside position when the shot on goal was first made. Note that this would also be the case if the ball deflected off the goalpost instead of the goalkeeper. Of the 3 requirements necessary to be in offside position, in the attacking half of the field, ahead of the second to last defender, and ahead of the ball, all of our examples so far have focused only on the last 2. However, There are situations where the first, being in the attacking half of the field, comes into consideration. This occurs when all the defensive players, either deliberately or by accident, end up in the opposite half of the field. When done deliberately, it is often called an offside trap. In an offside trap, when the ball is at the other end of the field, the defensive players all move forward toward the halfway line, knowing that, to avoid being placed in an offside position, all of the attacking forwards must move back as well. Occasionally, the defensive players all move so far forward that they end up in the opposite half of the field. However, experienced forwards know that once this happens, they no longer have to stay behind the defenders. They simply have to stay in their half of the field, waiting for the ball to be sent down to them. This results in a situation similar to this. Here, there is nobody on the right side of the field except the goalkeeper, who is out of view of the camera. The attacking player with the ball is here, and the three defenders here have pulled themselves into the opposite half of the field. The two attacking forwards are just behind the halfway line. So, even though they are ahead of the second-to-last defender, who is here, and ahead of the ball, neither is in offside position because neither is in the attacking half of the field. Note that the assistant referee is positioned at the halfway line as well. He is not even with the second-to-last defender because he needs to see whether the attacking forwards are behind the halfway line. When the long pass comes from their teammate, the two forwards cross the line to catch up with the ball. When they receive the ball, they are well into the attacking half of the field. However, they have not committed an offside infraction. On the replay, we can see that, at the moment the ball is kicked by the teammate, both forwards are still behind the halfway line. Therefore, at the moment the ball is kicked, they are not in offside position, and therefore they cannot be offside when they catch up with the ball. This is another good example showing that offside position can only be judged at the moment the ball is played by the teammate, not when the pass is received. This also shows the importance of the referee being well positioned. Only by positioning himself at the halfway line can the assistant referee see that, at the moment the ball is kicked, the two forwards are in their own half of the field and not in the attacking half of the field. However, if the forwards get too anxious, there can be an offside infraction. Here, we see the same situation, with both forwards in their own half of the field waiting for the ball to be sent down. Again, the long pass comes, and both forwards race down to receive the ball. However, in this case, one forward moves just a little too early. So, at the moment the ball is kicked, she has already crossed into the attacking half of the field. Because he is properly positioned, the assistant referee can see that she is in the attacking half of the field, and therefore in offside position. So he signals the infraction when that forward becomes involved in play by receiving the ball. Law 11 states that, even if a player is in offside position, there can be no offside infraction if that player receives the ball directly from a throw-in, a goal kick, or a corner kick. However, this is only true up until the ball is first touched by a player after any of these restarts. Once the ball is touched by that player, any other player who is in offside position at that moment can potentially be offside if the ball is played to them by a teammate and they become involved in active play. Of these three exceptions, the one where you are most likely to see a player in offside position during the restart is during a throw-in. Let's look at an example to illustrate this point. With the players set for the throw-in, the second-to-last defender is here. So at this point, none of the attackers are in offside position. As the throw-in takes place, one of the attackers moves ahead of the second-to-last defender and is in offside position at the moment the ball is released. However, since this player receives the ball directly from the throw-in, there is no offside infraction. Here is a very similar situation, but one which results in an offside infraction. Looking at the replay, there are 3 attacking forwards, and all of them are behind the second-to-last defender. So, at this point, nobody is in offside position. However, this time, the throw-in goes past the lead attacker to the second attacker. At the same time, the lead attacker has moved into an offside position, ahead of the second-to-last defender. This player has received the ball directly from the throw-in, so from this moment on, the offside rule applies. At the moment the ball is kicked forward, the lead attacker is in offside position. Since she receives the ball from her teammate and not from the throw-in, an offside infraction occurs. So, when the ball comes directly from the throw-in, there is no offside infraction. When it comes from a teammate after the throw-in, there can be an offside infraction. This principle also applies to goal kicks and corner kicks. Once those restarts have been completed, the normal offside rules apply. This video has presented a number of staged situations to help you understand the very basic fundamentals of the offside rule. Once you are on the field, you will find that each situation is different, and you will see many different situations that have not been covered in this presentation. However, a good understanding of the fundamentals, combined with experience, will allow you to make good, logical judgments on the field. And remember, positioning is the key to calling this infraction. Only if you are positioned correctly can you see if one player is ahead of another at the critical moment when the ball is kicked. Stay even with the second-to-last defender or the ball, whichever is further ahead. Do the best you can, and accept that everyone occasionally makes mistakes on offside calls, even referees in the World Cup. And remember, if in doubt as to whether an offside infraction has occurred, it is probably best to keep your flag down. Experience is the best teacher. The more you referee, the easier it gets. And be sure to run your questions by the experienced referees in your region. Discussing your game situations with them can be an extremely valuable teaching aid. Thanks for volunteering to referee. Your participation is critical to the success of your local program.